You're listening to Three's a Crowd, the North East Footy Podcast, with Rye for Borough, Steve for Newcastle United, and Ted for Sunderland.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North East Football Podcast, the only North East Football podcast called Three's a Crowd. It's been a rough weekend for two and a good weekend for some. Eddie Howe, no longer good at his job. Arsenal, way too good for Sunderland. And Swedish meatballs coming up big on Monday nights. I tell you, that's the headlines here on Three's a Crowd. It's going to be a massive, massive show. Thank you so much for joining us once and for always. I do appreciate each and every one of you being here alongside with me, Mr. Steve Wraith, and good morning, Ted. I don't know which one to go to first here, ladies and gentlemen, because they're both dad. Let's go to Mr. Steve Wraith. Mr. Steve Wraith. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you? How are you, lads? Dear me, where do you start with that today? My statement last night. I'm always quite careful what I put on social media. You've got to be, when you're doing podcasts and when you put your head above the parapet, as I've always said. I'll read it to you because it sums up how I feel. I personally think that mismanagement and bad appointments by our owners, starting with the departure of Amanda Staveley, is the reason that Newcastle United find themselves in a malaise and a decline this season. Howe looks tired and lost. The players look clueless at times. And we have a new breed of supporters who aren't used to this type of thing and don't support the team. Things can get worse. Club needs to address things quickly and effectively before more damage is done. The season can still be salvaged. That's how I feel in a paragraph. Really, yesterday has been coming, those kind of games at St James's Park where Eddie Howe, and the team seem to think that the crowd can give you some kind of superpower. It doesn't work like that. You have to do the job on the pitch at the end of the day. And unfortunately, Newcastle United are underperforming badly. The four players that they should have been relying on this season, and when I say the four, Malik Chow, Voltamada, Wissa and Alanga, I can't count Ramsdale and that. Those four, we're only getting, a quarter of what we should be from those four players, and the full quarter's coming from Malik Chow. Alanga, the signs of life. He looks as if he's capable of doing what he did at Forest. He's finally becoming a bit more confident, which is sometimes the thing that you need as a football player. Confidence sometimes can make you, play a little, play that a little bit better. He's still nowhere near he was at Forest. I'm not going to kid you on about that, but there is signs of life. Great goal against City the other night, despite it just being a consolation. Wissa the Misser is a disaster at the minute. He looks as if he's towing a caravan when he runs. He can't sprint. I don't know whether that's something to do with the injury that he's had, and that and he hasn't recovered properly from it, or whether this is just him. Whether he's become a yard slower, but it's not looking good at the moment. And as for his predatory instincts in the box, we haven't got that. We just haven't got that, from him this season. Voltamada, we've talked about him on here before. He's afraid to shoot, which is somebody who we spent, a record amount of money on up front. When he gets a chance at goal, he just won't shoot. It's become an embarrassment. That really hasn't scored for, we're coming up towards, 17, 18, 19 games, and he's not scored. And his confidence must be rock bottom. For me, only Malik Chow is really giving us anything, and even he, is being asked to do what some say is impossible this season. He's played 33, 34 games in a row. He hasn't had a rest. He hasn't had a break because of the injury situation. So it was hard watching Eddie Howe's interview and listening to him. he's doubting his own ability, which is never good as a manager. He doesn't doubt the effort he's putting in because he knows he's there. He's there 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. But clearly, what he's trying to get the players to do is not working, and that's a worry. The interview after the match with the player was Trippier. Newcastle, of course, were obviously getting a dressing down, and they were basically had an open house in the dressing room afterwards to try and work out what on earth is going wrong. And Eddie Howe was late getting out for his interview, so Trippier went out, and of course, he's one of the senior squad, senior players, and he stood up for his manager and said it's up to us as players to get things right. But it's tough, and I think it's down to the transfer window and down to PIF. Of course, Eddie's the man who has to pick the team. Eddie's the man who coaches the team. But whoever, and it could have been Eddie, we don't know, but whoever picked those players in the summer as adequate replacements for the players that we lost, with the exception of Malik Chow, at this moment in time, just hasn't done the job. We keep pointing to the Isak transfer. Of course, Isak leaving was going to affect the team. But, the players we brought in haven't been good enough. And add to that, the fact that some of our key players over the last 4 years are now getting more, where they're getting older and they aren't as quick. And the Premier League is ruthless. It can expose weakness of any player. So we're seeing the likes of Kieran Trippier, a brilliant player, great technician, great free kick expert in his day, but he's 35. He shouldn't be starting week at right back for Newcastle United in the Premier League. Yeah. You've got Jacob Murphy, who at the end of the day, wasn't great when the takeover went through, but Eddie's made him into a great player. He's given them some great memories in a cup medal, a winner and a runner-up cup medal to look at when he's old and grey. But at the moment, Jacob Murphy is a shadow of his former self, and he's not looking good. And we're now in that position where we're forcing players who are injured back into the team. So we played Bruno yesterday, who wasn't fit. And he was just a name on a piece of paper. Bruno wasn't Bruno yesterday. He scored a penalty. But, and that burst into the box by him and Asula won us the penalty. But at the end of the day, it wasn't great. And have we set him back? I don't know. He didn't look comfortable on the ball. And it's one thing after another. I've seen it in the chat there, and there's a couple of people suggesting, that Chow and Botman, it was good to see them have a good game. But they played better. There's no doubt about it. Chow's been brilliant this season. He's had a couple of dodgy games in recent weeks, but he was brilliant yesterday. I know what you mean. And Botman he is getting back more to where he was. But hang on a minute. We conceded 3 goals. Those goals weren't on Pope. Those goals collectively was because our defence conceded 3 goals. The problem, I'm always reluctant to pick players out. But I will say collectively the midfield was poor again yesterday. That's why Newcastle are so easy to break down. And at the moment, it's like cutting a knife through butter. That first goal yesterday was embarrassing. And it's just so easy. And it comes from a Newcastle attack. Newcastle are pushing on, attacking, and then bang, Brentford are straight up the other end and score. And it's just so disappointing. It really is. But as I said last night, when I put my piece out on social media, the season's not over. This is now all about Eddie Howe, Jason Tindall, and the rest getting together with a team and getting this sorted out. A hell of a game on Tuesday, man, because it's two teams who essentially could, and this isn't being dramatic, could get dragged into a relegation battle. There's three teams go down. 2 teams are finished. Wolves and Burnley won't get out of that now, I'm afraid. But there is that third bottom slot. And if the likes of West Ham put a run together, Nottingham Forest, Leeds, and Newcastle and Spurs keep going the way they're going, it happens. Sometimes there's always a team that drops like the proverbial stone. Do I think that happened in Newcastle? Do I think Newcastle will be in a relegation battle? No. I think we will find a way. I think the return of Miley and others will help. and Newcastle will find themselves probably finishing now outside the top 10. I don't think Europe is a possibility. But I think we'll still, I think we'll beat Karabakh over 2 games and get into the 16 of the Champions League, which, wow, that's amazing. Best we've ever done. If we can overcome Villa and get a decent draw in the FA Cup, we might have a little run in the FA Cup as well. But I would urge Newcastle fans just to lay off social media and lay off the players. If there's a time to support your club, it's when they're doing badly. You should support them full stop anyway, but don't get on the case. Don't be hammering players on social media. Don't be doing what I saw yesterday, which is booing players. Some knacker at the match yesterday, booing Wisser when he was on the pitch and then booing him off. I won't swear, but F off, mate. Come back to the club. You know what? You're standing there in your replica shirt, your replica shirt, your bloody jumper that you've just bought. You're buying all the Adidas gear, and you're standing there booing a player in a black and white shirt when he's trying to score goals for Newcastle. He's not going through the best of time. You're booing him. What a knacker! That is what is wrong with football nowadays. That culture of supporter, and sadly, this is what success brings. This is what competing at the highest level brings. These kind of supporters, and I'm just disgusted at people like that. But I know that they're day trippers. You know what I mean? They're day trippers. That's what they are, and those people really. They won't hang their heads in shame because they're not bothered. They just jump on for the ride. And that's not the kind of supporter I am and never will be. I deliberately started leaving my seat and got down to the concourse where I leave. Bang on 30 seconds to go, and because I knew people would be booing, and I can't trust myself not to say something to somebody like that. I bit my tongue with that kid who was a couple of rows in front of me. But, what a knacker! But anyway, listen, that's how I'm feeling, lads. Tuesday is a chance, for Newcastle. Obviously Romero's injured. Romero got sent off. Sorry. And Adugo is injured. So Newcastle can take a little bit of positivity out of that. But we've got to find a result at Spurs. That's a huge game. Newcastle go to Spurs and lose. I'm afraid that things will start to get worse. It's already bad, but I think things will get worse. But yeah, not a great weekend for Newcastle United, lads.
If you've just joined us, Newcastle United pundit here, Steve Wraith, isn't happy. And there's been a bit happening in the Newcastle world. I mean, he has shared the thoughts here, Teddy boy, because it has been a bad week. I mean, we started off the week hearing about Tonali and his agent having to come out. We first heard his agent saying that Tonali was interested in a move to Arsenal. That then was squashed. Then we had his agent come out and say that it wasn't true and he's happy, he's not going anywhere. Then his agent put out another statement saying that they might look at things in the summer. So that was good from Tonali in the week and his agent. We then had the result, obviously, of Man City and then into the weekend against Brentford as well. I mean, Alan Shearer said this, Teddy boy. He said the signings in summers, apart from Malik Chow, have not been good enough and they have not hit anything like top form. They simply haven't justified any of the money that was spent on them and as of yet have hindered Eddie Howe. Like any manager, things need to get better and they need to turn a corner. But in terms of him losing his job, absolutely not. That's obviously Alan Shearer. And I just want to read you this, Ted, as well, before we get your thoughts, mate, on how happy you would be seeing Newcastle like this. Newcastle United fans drove Sir Bobby Robson out of the club because fifth was perceived to be failure after third and fourth previous 2 seasons and went into decline immediately. Kevin Keegan then quit. He was exhausted, saying he'd taken the club as far as he could. Eddie Howe has achieved more than both of them. He's hurting now. He was booed, having to take the blame for everything, and said that maybe he's failing at his job. So I say, take a moment and ask who could be better. If you can't cut the most successful manager of the club has had for the 70 years some slack and give him some time to get things right, then who bloody will?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? It's listen, the Northeast has been through a dirge of a time in football in not so recent years. We've all been out the top flight. We know how tough football can be at times. we had a club that was nearly out of business not that long ago. So it's, in the grand scheme of things, for supporters, and I'm using that term loosely, to start booing the team, it's just not needed. It's in the end of the world where Newcastle is right now, which is in the knockout phase of the Champions League. Had a very good cup run again in the League Cup. Losing those 2 games in, what is it, a run of like 10 games or something like that in the competition, and only having 2 defeats in that in 2 years. That ain't bad going either. They are still, all right, yeah, they've dropped down to 12th after last night. They're still not in a bad position. They're a couple of wins short of being back in European contention again. So it's all about perspective here. And as Steve's very correctly pointed out here, I think there needs to be, knowing Steve for the amount of time we have, Steve's a working class lad. And a lot of the Newcastle fans who I know are working class lads. Where you get this gentrification of football is where you start getting problems, where you get the people who want instant gratification, who don't see the bigger picture of what it is, what it means to be a fan of a football club, and B, what it is to be a fan of a football club in the Northeast. They lose perspective over that. I'm not a fan of booing players at all. It's not for me. I've seen enough of, I saw Gareth Hall playing fullback for Sunderland, for God's sake. I've been there. I've struggled, all right? I've seen Jeff Whitley pull on a shirt that's red and white. We've all suffered. You know what I mean? So, yeah, listen, the booing thing, I don't agree with it. As for the performance, Coop and Buster for me, because even Mrs. Ted had a Newcastle win on her accumulator. Yes, she is now doing an acca per week, by the way. I'll keep us posted on how much she doesn't win on that. But yeah, I fully expected a win. I thought, put it behind us against the Man City thing. That freak half hour is, Man City can do that to anybody. And I mean anybody in Europe, not just anybody in the Premier League. They can do that to anyone because they've got the means to do that, because they've got the squad to do it. So, you take that as a one-off. The one I was surprised at was the performance, how static some of it was. I looked at the defenders, certainly for the third goal, the third Brentford goal, and it was just kind of in the last 5 minutes when you're chasing the game. At that point, I'm going, Newcastle's got this. They got the equaliser. It's definitely a penalty. You think at that stage there's only one winner here, and to switch off the way they did was rather concerning. And I feel like that they're not. Trippier can say what he likes, but I just felt at that stage when you make slip ups like that, you're not playing for your coach. Because that was simple stuff. That was a simple bit of defending where it was just switched off, and you don't expect that. The form that Botman's been in, the form that for me, Chow's up there with one of the signings of the season, Premier League wise. I think he's the complete centre back. He's a wonderful footballer, but they've got to carry an awful lot of responsibility for letting that slide yesterday. Don't boo them for that's a given, but. They deserve the criticism that they're going to get at the same time, because that wasn't good. However, like Steve said, the season isn't over yet. There's a lot for Newcastle to be positive about. Like I've mentioned, being in the stages of the Champions League that they are is a frankly wonderful achievement, because there's a hell of a lot of teams that haven't made it that far who we think they would. So. Listen, it's about bedding in. I think he's right. I think Elanga is starting to show glimpses of what he is capable of. Maybe it's a gelling thing. All right. Sunderland went out and bought quite a lot of players. We've been very lucky in the way that they've gelled together, because you can introduce 3 or 4 new players into a squad, and it really starts to upset the balance. And factor in for that as well. I'm not making excuses for Newcastle. Far be it for me to do that. But they're not used to playing without Alexander Isak. That team was built around supplying him with goals to score. Maltamada is a number 10. We know that. Wissa had a good season, but he's nearly 30. This isn't his fault. This is the fault of the ownership and the recruitment structure for bringing in players that, frankly, I think they've overpaid for. And that's the frustrating thing, because Newcastle have stuck rigidly to the rules in terms of spending, much unlike a lot of Premier League sides, but they've stuck to the rules. And unfortunately, what budget they've had looks like it might have been slightly misused. That's not on the players, that's on the ownership for me. But that's my take on it. If you want to talk about Sunderland, I'm just going to ignore you and I'm going to talk about Swedish meatballs.
This is the problem as well. Sunderland being in the Premier League, I'm afraid that some of our supporters, like, you know, the be all and end all for some supporters is to finish above Sunderland, which is ridiculous. Yeah. You know, that the be all and end all should be to win a trophy. You know what I mean, and to get into Europe. That's what we should be doing. But at the moment, if you had to put money on it, you know, any sensible betting person would look at the two teams and go, well, I'm afraid at the moment, you know, Sunderland look more of a chance of getting into European place than Newcastle. But it's, you know, things can change, like I keep saying, but this season has been it's been disappointing, and I think it's all because the expectation has been so high as well. You know, we won the Carabao Cup, we've qualified for the Champions League again, and that's the problem. You know, it's the expectancy level is so high, and that's what makes this season's fall from grace just a little bit hard to take. That, you know, it is always going to be a problem. So yeah, look, it is tough, but you know, we've been through tougher, and you know, we've just got to see what Tuesday night brings.
I think obviously starting it off with the Isak departure as well. We saw it right there and then. Do you know what I mean? From that moment, it was just this sort of this ugliness to it. And obviously Newcastle was still buoyed by the fact that they could go and spend some money and get some of these new players in, and they haven't hit the ground running. No, you know, no one has been to the levels of what Isak has, and obviously that's why Liverpool paid, you know, the whatever it was, breaking money to try and get him to Liverpool, because he was that, you know, that class of a striker. But the way he did it, everything like that, it's unraveled into the situation that it is. Well, it's going to be a massive end to the season now, with Newcastle obviously still having to play in the Champions League and still battle these injuries. We will keep you up to date with it as time goes on. But Eddie Howe now under immense pressure at Newcastle United, either through his own pressure or from the fans especially. Over to the Backhams. Middlesbrough fans, don't you worry, we'll be getting onto it. We play obviously tomorrow night. We had some massive results go our way yesterday as well. Don't you worry, my Swedish meatball friends, we will be covering some Middlesbrough stuff, but we got to talk about going backwards before we go forwards, and by going backwards we have to play a little bit of a memory game here with Teddy Boy, who wanted to forget about it, but it's a 3-0 win for Arsenal last night, mate, against Xhaka's old club. Obviously, he was very well respected and well loved at that club. Obviously, had a great little moment there at the end with Arteta. We had some news after the game as well, with Regis confirming that Xhaka would be out for for 4 more games, he said, with his injury. There was a fresh injury on top of what he had already sustained. And unfortunately, moving forward, it will be Sunderland without Xhaka. Last night, I thought it wasn't as bad as a game to show the scoreline. Does that? I worded that incorrectly, but it didn't look like a 3-0 game to Arsenal. But and obviously, you know, you made Gyökeres look like the best striker in the world as well. But a 3-0 victory to Arsenal, I think it showed that level again of that jump up into that top 6. You know what I mean? I think that you can see that level again in that top 6 of that Premier League. It just goes that whole new level. Thought Sunderland, you know, played very well midweek. Obviously, early on Monday. It was deadline day. They did play. Monday, but a fantastic game. To be fair, though, Burnley are very, very, very bad. And I have Scott Parker, please, my goodness, that type of football is disgusting, please. And I credit you, Sunderland, for beating a team like that, because that was disgusting, Burnley, absolutely disgusting. But obviously a win and a loss, Teddy Boy, a solid week, but the news about Xhaka, mate, I think is going to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, starting with the Monday night game, very impressive performance. I don't think we looked in any sort of danger at any point during the game. I thought we completely controlled it. I thought Diarra looked like a new signing, which effectively he is, because he was out for 4 months with a groin injury. But even yesterday, I thought Diarra was excellent. He's looking like a real lively character Tinkered with the formation a bit yesterday, which I think it was brave. You're not expected to get results down at the Emirates. That's just not going to happen. So they went a little bit ballsy, I thought, with the approach to the game. They didn't just sit back. And for a period of time, it actually worked. The game plan was that they do a bit of a high press, try and make Arsenal play it long, which obviously Alderete and Mukiele and Ballard are going to eat up all day long, because they're absolute beasts when it comes to anything in the air. Unfortunately, the quality showed. I'm not upset at all about yesterday's result. The scoreline, I think, did flatter Arsenal a little bit. I've had Arsenal friends of mine who've actually agreed with that and said the same themselves. But that won't show at the end of the day. It'll reflect a 3-0 defeat, and that's what it was. And what yesterday shows you is, for all, we've had a great season so far, and first one back in the Premier League, no complaints whatsoever from me. But that Arsenal performance goes, that's the standard. That is the standard right there of what everybody is trying to get to. They just never broke sweat. Yeah, we give them a couple of problems. Robbie was his usual physical, bombastic best, but they just found a way. And for all Arsenal weren't even in top gear, that's what they can do to sides, is beating 3-0. So I haven't got a problem with that. I was disappointed against. Yes, he does. He was magnificent against Burnley. I've got to say, he really had a good game yesterday as well. But so what I was disappointed in was the manner of the defeat against West Ham. Second game of the season, the away defeat to Burnley wasn't a great performance. When you come across top sides like Arsenal, like a Liverpool, like a Man City, you've just got to kind of take it on the chin a little bit and take your medicine. We're new to it, and we'll grow from the experience. Trey Hume's getting a little bit of a hard time from some quarters at the minute, because the last 2 away performances, he hasn't been at his best, but he's playing slightly out of position. We've had to adjust things because the captain, the linchpin of the team, is missing. Steve knows only too well. Xhaka is our Bruno at the end of the day. That's how it is with our squad. And when you have an integral cog in the machine missing like that, it makes a huge difference. Now, we've found ways to deal with it in terms of the home performance against Burnley. But for some of the bigger sides and the bigger names in the Premier League, of course, that is going to kind of make us struggle a little bit. It'll be interesting to see what we do against Liverpool in terms of the lineup there. I've just got a sneaky suspicion that we won't give Liverpool a very nice experience up there. I think we can really take it to them. We know that a defending is flaky. If we can get about them like we got about Arsenal in the first 30 minutes of that game yesterday, I think we might. And the crowd obviously is a big factor. Now, this is the bit I want to come back to in the comparison with what Steve mentioned before. The players have to earn the right for the crowd to be the 12th man. And that's right now we're kind of on a little bit of a crest of a wave at the Stadium of Light. We're unbeaten at home in the Premier League all season so far, and that is where you earn the respect. There's the Sunderland players are putting performances in, they put tackles in, they're turning to the crowd and giving it the big one. The only player I'm seeing that doing that from a Newcastle perspective is Bruno, and he's the only one for me watching it as an outsider, as a third party. Bruno's the only one who's actually earning his adoration from the fans. The rest of the players need to spend some time out there in the world of Newcastle players and actually go and speak to them. There is expectations when you pull on a jersey for a Northeast football side, and that home form is absolutely integral. St James's Park should be a fortress, and it absolutely should. They're another one like us that should be going into like their next home game unbeaten, or at least maybe losing one or two along the way. But Brentford, Brentford shouldn't be coming away from there with 3 points, and that's where players need to start and have a good hard look at themselves. Like I say, getting back to the Sunderland aspect of things, workmanlike performances. It's good, honest graft from them, and give us a performance like that again. Give us a performance like they did against Burnley. All we want is the effort, and you know what? We might just surprise Liverpool, and they might have an off day. So, disappointing 3-0 defeat, but hey, in the grand scheme of things, I'm happy with the way things are going.
No, it's honestly been a dour note to start off the Threeser crowd. Unfortunately, a bad situation in Newcastle, a bad loss yesterday for Sunderland. Well, it's time to get happy again, because we're going to sit back, we're going to have Troll of the Week, and then we're going to talk about a happiest club in the Northeast, Middlesbrough Football Club, who are equal first, and commentary drop points yesterday as well, Borough fans, because everything's coming up Swedish for us. So let's sit back, let's relax, let's enjoy Troll of the Week.
First of all, apologies to Jimmy Wilson. I missed this, Jimmy. Hi, Steve. He says, I hope you and the lads are well. It's my grandson's birthday today, which was last week. The big 7. Would it be possible for the lads on the Amigos? Well, I know it's not the Amigos, but I'll forget, Jimmy, if I don't do it now. So this is a big shout out from the 3 Northeast representatives to Riley. Happy 7th
Happy birthday, Riley, lad.
Happy birthday!
And I wish Newcastle United's results would pick up for you, mate, to give you a bit more of a boost. But you're following the right club, son. That's all I'm saying. I love this at Middlesbrough, lads, this week. Paul Ground-tastic, who goes around grounds like a few people do. After visiting Middlesbrough's Riverside Stadium yesterday, I thought I'd dig out a photo of the old gates that used to sit adjacent to the reception at their former Ayrsham ground. Now repositioned at the Riverside, they provide a neat link to the club's past. So nice to get a little bit of praise, isn't it, from people? But yeah, that is good. And we did cover a guy who nipped into his son's bait at the Wolves game recently, which saw his Ben crying. Well, good news, the club's reached out, give him a new strip. And he gave him some food and gave him a good day out at Wolves to make up for that.
Some championship tickets in the envelope.
Some championship tickets in a big envelope, yes. Newcastle United fans in Europe, somebody sent me this stickering up the Paris underground. I love it. Absolutely brilliant. Thanks for that. And somebody also, when you go abroad and you follow your team abroad, it is great to be able to, you see different transport. How about this, lads, for a train? Look at that. Nice little reception area for your cans.
Wow.
Really decent for an away trip, that. Excellent stuff. Place for your buffet and that. Excellent. And Newcastle United fans at Man City might not have had anything to shout about with regards to the Carabao Cup semi-final, but yes, a little bit of Klinsmann diving at half-time on the concourse was called for, and this guy did a blind.
He's given it full belt.
He's well renowned for doing that, by the way. So a good shout out to him. Tell me, mum, pack me favourite scran. I'm going to Azerbaijan. I've definitely winged Song of the Week this week. And this was brilliant. The lad sent me this. Former Spain coach Robert Murillo was reportedly sacked by Russia's FC Sochi after relying heavily on ChatGPT. FC Sochi's former general director revealed that the ex-coach regularly relied on ChatGPT for training sessions, tactics, and even team travel while at the club. The neutral network created training schedules and offered brilliant advice, such as not sleeping for 28 hours before a match or waking up at 5 a.m. And under Mourinho's leadership, Sochi were relegated from the Russian Premier League to the First League. And in the autumn of 2025, the coach was sacked after the team managed just 1 point from 7 league matches. No wonder he's holding his head like that. This made me laugh this week as well. Back in my day, you used to hold corn for toe punting. Now, man are calling it a distal phalanx shot. Yes, it's a toe poke. It's a toe poke. That's what it is. It's not a bloody distal phalanx shot, for God's sake. Celtic, the Scots know how to do banners, don't they? Banish the traitors. They're on point, aren't they? They're on trend, the Celtic fans and the bands and Paddy Power. It's a good thing they're expanding the Etihad. Think of all those fans who will now be able to go. Of course, that was at our Carabao Cup semi-final. Empty seats, lots of empty seats. Brentford singing You Only Came to See the Brentford. Lads, Brentford didn't even come to see Brentford. Empty seats, definitely a talking point this week. And the darts was at Newcastle this week, the Premier League darts. Good to see that the BetMGM cards weren't wasted. Isaac's a rat, ole ole, written on one particular card. Francis Chipp, he's been at it this week. Breaking news. Bud, the former police horse who was famously involved in a bust-up with a Newcastle United fan in 2013, has passed away. The Shire Cross was found dead in his stable last night. It's understood there are no suspicious circumstances. Newcastle United would honour Bud, the controversial figure, before the kick-off in next Saturday's home game versus Brentford. Just to say that they didn't. I'm not sure if the horse is dead. And he also came out with this one. Newcastle United are close to approving Jamal Lascelles' testimonial request of a boxing event at St James's Park. Lascelles is hoping to take on Andy Carroll over 12 rounds. Former players Sean Longstaff and Paul Dummett will also go head-to-head on the same evening. Unfortunate name.
Steve.
Yeah.
We'll come back there because I want to know who you think would win that fight.
All right. Unfortunate thing of names on the assists here. Jay Gullen, twat. And easy work at Ellen Road. Aidan replied, Jim Carrey and Harry Maguire in the away end there. That Jim Carrey one in the bottom is brilliant, isn't it? That really is good. I was looking for a few other lookalikes there. And as we know, KK hasn't been well, still isn't well. I love this bit of art that appeared on a wall this week. I will love it when I beat cancer. Love it. United against cancer. Well done, that man or woman, whoever did that. Good to see traditions still running at Fulham. When you collect your programmes, it creates the club badge. I do like that. I like the one to do things like that. Newcastle have done that in the past. And Lee, the Everton fan, Liverpool's total spend this year was 501.5 million. Liverpool fans say oil clubs are ruining football. Good point, Lee. And when your girl says she wants to go to the Eiffel Tower, but you're broke on Valentine's Day, yet still romantic. And when you shit yourself at school and have to wear something from lost property.
What is that?
And when you finally get into bed after a night of raving. Been there, done that. I love this from Festival. I had a phase in the late 80s when I did a load of drugs and booze. I rented a room in North London and moved all my stuff in. I went on a bender. I lost my paperwork and couldn't find the place afterwards. My car was outside too. I never found that either. Give Festival a follow. Newcastle fan, but comes up with some great stuff. Daily Dafty, exclusive this week, lads. My ex-husband keeps calling round creating things at my house. She said, I told him never to darken my door again. And this was brilliant. Live, Scottish Premiership. Rampant Hearts, 7 clear at Summit after rolling over Hearts.
What?
And 35 million on Brennan Johnson, 48 million on Strand Larson, 20 million on Dwight McNeil. Steve Parish and Matt Hobbs should be tried at The Hague for war crimes. And we'll finish with this one. When brawls break out in football, the commentators always feel the need to tell us that no one likes to see it. Look at the faces in the crowd. If you've got any tweets that you want to send us for Troll of the Week, then nufcmatters1892@gmail.com, or send it to me and the lads on our social media so we can get what counts.
Brilliant as always. Welcome back to Three's a Crowd, the only Northeast football podcast where we bring Sunderland, Newcastle and Middlesbrough fans together, and we have a bit of banter and a bit of laugh. The first half of the show has been Debbie Downer. I do apologise. We've had to cover Newcastle United's woes, Sunderland's bad loss yesterday, even though they came off a great victory against Burnley. It is now time to talk the positive side of Northeast football, and the positive side right now is Middlesbrough Football Club. Get in! Swedish football at the helm. I tell you, it's going to be a massive night. Middlesbrough have been moved to Monday night. They play Sheffield United tomorrow after having to sit back and watch the results go their way on the weekend. Ipswich Town obviously obviously, apart from the others, got a good win, but Coventry got a 0-0 draw and Hull would end up losing. So Middlesbrough can go top of the championship tomorrow night with a win over Chris Wilder. Will that happen? Probably not. Why? Because of bloody Wilder. But it's just the thing that Borough do. But it's going to be fantastic viewing anyway. Middlesbrough going in knowing that a win or a draw will take them to first in the championship for the first time this season after managing to track down Coventry. It's been an absolutely fantastic season so far, and dreams may continue for us Borough fans as we move forward into what's going to be a massive, massive couple of weeks for Middlesbrough. Obviously, we've got Coventry on the horizon, Sheffield United as well, and it's going to be an interesting take to see how the squad rels. We had the transfer window shut, obviously, for Middlesbrough as well. No incomings on deadline day except for Joe Wildsmith, obviously the goalkeeper who came in. The biggest one that we need to talk about, Borough fans, and I think obviously to these lads as well, is Seny Dieng. Now, Seny Dieng was our first choice keeper under Michael Carrick. How bad he's going at Man United as well. As I look down the stare of the camera on that one, we got Seny Dieng still at the football club, who is not playing a game of football. Why, you ask? Well, is he injured? Nope. He's been banished. Now, the rumours are, for those, to bring you up to speed, Newcastle and Sunderland fans, the rumours are that Seny Dieng and Michael Carrick had a bit of a punch-up, which will lead straight into this boxing question that Teddy's got as well. But the rumours are Seny Dieng and Michael Carrick had a punch-up. Michael Carrick came off worse from that as well, coming out with a black eye and a bruised cheekbone, and he hasn't been played since. He then went in for surgery on a buggy Achilles injury that could have or couldn't have been avoided. And he has since then, never been near the first team. He's been fit since October of last year. He was then banished from the club. Now, we're just putting two and two together here. The rumours aren't confirmed that Seny Dieng, and in fact, did have a fallout with Michael Carrick, and that he's never been seen foot as well. Well, I can confirm to you that Michael Carrick's probably on the money here because Seny Dieng will not be named in the 25-man squad for the rest of the season. Therefore, he has been absolutely shunned and pushed to the side. Our fit number one goalkeeper from less than 12 months ago is now no longer in the squad. Now, read into it what you will, Borough fans. It's just an interesting one for me, and I think there's more to come on that one. But who cares, because we're almost top of the league. It's going to be a massive, massive game tomorrow night. We will predict that very soon. But Teddy boy, Michael Carrick, Seny Dieng having a bit of a punch-up, but you've got a good question for Steve on a certain boxing match that you want to see come.
Yeah, that intrigues me. Jamal Lascelles taking on Andy Carroll. Obviously, we know it's a Mickey take.
Jamal Lascelles would win all day. Jamal Lascelles is as hard as goat's knees. And haven't seen both of them out on the drink in the past. I'll tell you now, Jamal Lascelles would win that by a KO.
Oh, right. Wow.
Get us front row seats, I'll tell you that.
And as for Sean Longstaff and Paul Dummett, they like each other. That would just be would be like an exhibition fight.
Klitschko's fighting each other. You cannot have that.
Cannot have that. I tell you, you could have like a senior like warm up fight between Kieran Dyer and Lee Bowyer.
Imagine that one. Bring them out for the ages. Tell you that.
And I think they should all be on the undercard to Billy Whitehurst and Mick Harford. Imagine that fight.
That'd be a ding dong. That like absolutely. Jesus. Yeah.
In fact, that would end up just as a riot.
Vinnie Jones even said that Mick Harford. He says he was just the absolute governor, like a real football hard man. But Seny Dieng and Michael Carrick. It's I don't know. It's going from like extreme great boxing to like those slap fights. It's just
it's incredible, isn't it? And it's a story that's going to be played out, I think, in a couple of seasons to come. We won't hear anything now, especially while he's still under contract. No. Middlesbrough were looking to rip up his contract. Obviously, we don't know under what circumstances. Again, this is all just rumors, by the way. We're just playing into what everyone's being said, but you're putting two and two together. And now we read from Dominic Shaw as well, the Northeast reporter, saying that Middlesbrough did look to rip up his contract, but then would have to have paid out an absolutely ridiculous amount of money because Seny had slipped that into his contract and therefore are happy to keep him on the books but just not play him. So there you go. It's going to be an interesting one there. Middlesbrough's 5-man squad. will be locked in. You will see Joe Wildsmith, our new keeper on loan from West Brom, take that spot. So he'll be our third choice keeper. And then you will see the rest of the teams remain the same. Severe Nipan did return to Man City on deadline day as well. Hasn't worked out for the young 18-year-old. We thought when we got him, he was an absolute steal. The talent alone we thought was going to be incredible, but he just couldn't cut it. And it's not to say that it wasn't Middlesbrough's fault, nor was it Severe's fault. It's just one of those things that I think it just didn't work out for whatever reason. Middlesbrough obviously had a fantastic run. We also had the massive performances of the likes of Alan Brown and Matty Targett. You know, these two other lone stars that we're looking at. You look at Severe Nipan and you say, why aren't you like Matt Targett? Why aren't you like Alan Brown? Two professionals, two seniors that have been there and done that before, where Severe Nipan's just a young 18-year-old moving to the England for the first time as well. And the championship there's no room for error, nor is there no room for niceties when you're 18 years old fresh into England, that's for sure. It's going to be a massive, massive game tomorrow night for Middlesbrough going against Sheffield United. Let's preview it now. Middlesbrough will be coming up against Chris Wilder. Chris Wilder saying that Middlesbrough, he knows about us, is what he said, even though he's an ex-manager. He said it through gritted teeth, the absolute sandwich loving, and we got to cut it there. It's going to be fantastic to see how Kim Hellberg comes up against Chris Wilder and his tactics. Obviously, we saw Calvin Phillips, lads, move to Sheffield United on deadline day. Another move for Calvin Phillips outside of Man City. And Sheffield United are going to be without Patrick Bamford, the ex-Middlesbrough striker, and lead striker, who is going to be injured for the next 4 to 5 games. He is their top scorer at the moment. They have got a wealth of depth in that team, though. They've still got the likes of Harmer. Teddy Boy, you would be very, very susceptible to the likes of Benny Harmer. And obviously, the list goes down for Sheffield United, but it's a tough Monday night away. Middlesbrough can go top of the league, which puts more pressure on them. Sheffield United away, Teddy Boy, in the championship to go first. I'm starting to think, and I keep thinking, that Middlesbrough are going to slip up at some point, right? It's just going to be classic, but it seems like Coventry are doing it, and Kim Hellberg is that intelligent that I liken it to Regis Lebris, where we were waiting for Sunderland to some point slip up and start dropping points, and they just never did.
I think one of the good things about having a manager come in who has no real experience of that league is they really don't give a toss about reputations. And to see somebody kind of Hellberg won't get drawn into the whole sort of thing that Wilder does, and the absolute BS that they spout before, during, and after games. He won't get drawn into that. He doesn't care who Chris Wilder is, and why should anybody? To be honest, I think Middlesbrough have a far better squad than Sheffield United, and I'll tell you how we identify that. Is Sheffield United took Hjelde on loan from Sunderland for the rest of the season. Now, Hjelde didn't even get on the pitch for us. Or certainly during the starting 11 in the playoff final that we had against Sheffield United, which, bearing in mind, was just in May of the last year. We're not talking that long ago. So to start, and I don't want to be disrespectful to Leo Hjelde, but to kind of stoop that low and to kind of be scratching around for those kind of signings that probably wouldn't have got into their squad last time around just shows you how far they've dropped. I actually think that I know you're waiting for the inevitable slip up, and I joke about it saying Middlesbrough go to pieces in Easter and all that kind of thing. This isn't the game where Middlesbrough go to pieces. I'm convinced of that. I think their squad is developing all the time. I think there's some very, very astute signings in there. We've talked about Targett, we've talked about Brown, what they've added to the squad as well. But there's a nucleus of good players that Middlesbrough have on a permanent basis in there. I think they've just got too much for Sheffield United. I think if it wasn't for the fact that Wednesday are struggling the way they are this season, Sheffield United fans would have absolutely nothing to talk about whatsoever. Yeah, I think they've been bang average all season, and I fully. Do you want my prediction right now for it?
Yeah, go on.
I'm honestly going to go 2-0 Borough. I really don't see you struggling with this at all. I think they're a spent force. I think Wilder's a one-trick pony. He's a one-club, one-trick pony. I just hope Sheffield United get relegated. Anyway,
I've actually got a 3-1 victory down here for Middlesbrough because I'm just that excited by the likes of Sarmiento, who we signed as well. I mean, he's going to be an absolute insane player to watch. Someone that takes the defenses on, picks them apart, gets through defenses, works his magic, and it's just going to be something that I'm just so excited to watch. And obviously seeing Kim Hellberg, I just think he's got the nous to be able to pick apart a Sheffield United team and tactically and his smarts and everything like that. And I think our squad is settled enough. We've got the likes of Alan Brown, Matty Target on loan, obviously, but you've got the likes of Tommy Conway finding a little bit of form. You've got the Leo Castledine. If he's fit, he'll come back in as well. Riley McGree's now back fit as well. We got rid of a couple of those ones that questioned when they did come on in Delano Bergsorg as well, Severe Nepan as well. Borough fans, we were questioning about him when he came on. They're gone now. So, you've got the strong bench followed up, to be right behind this strong 11. Steve, it's going to be a massive game. Middlesbrough can go top of the championship, mate, to take us home into the last half of the championship season. If we can sit first over tomorrow night, mate, Borough fans are starting to dare to dream.
Yeah, and rightly so. I think this is a great opportunity now for Middlesbrough to kick on. Coventry have decided, for some reason, to go on like that. It's just crazy, isn't it? I didn't expect it. I just didn't expect to see it. But I think it's the tortoise and the hare. The championship, it happens time and time again, season after season. You just never know what's going to happen. Somebody said in the chat there about 2 minutes ago that Ipswich are the dark horses. They're going about their business quite quietly, and that they could be the team that comes and runs away with it. But this is the opportunity for Middlesbrough to widen that gap. Really, it's a massive opportunity, for you guys to do that. And to go top, it's psychological. But yeah, let's not write Hull City out of this either. They are still there or thereabouts in fourth place. Millwall's on 53. The top five now is starting to take shape. You go down to Wrexham in sixth, looking good for the playoffs on 47 points. But yeah, I think, genuinely speaking, I think this is a great opportunity. I don't think that the manager comes in, your former manager comes into it. Sheffield United are, they're above the relegation zone, but, they're comfortably above it now. And, yeah, Wilder, I don't know. Wilder just grinds on you, I know that. But he's a character. He's somebody who will press the buttons if you allow him to press the buttons, but I don't think that comes into it. It's about what's on the pitch. And I think that Middlesbrough's got more than enough. So I hate to do it to you, right, but I'm going to go for a win as well. I think Borough will win. You've got 3-1. Ted's got 2-0. I'll go 2-1. But I think Middlesbrough win this game comfortably and go to the top of the table.
It's going to be very interesting to see.
On Sheffield United, lads, 2 seconds.
The curse of the Three's crowd, I tell you what. Let's see what the lads think as we've got 2 games midweek as well for both Newcastle and Sunderland. Let's look ahead. Newcastle will be going down to Tottenham. I mean, needing a win, Steve. We can't put it any more bluntly. We need a performance out of some of these players that have been lacking. You need a performance out of some of these signings. You need a performance out of Eddie Howe. He needs to get a win over Thomas Frank and Tottenham. I mean, Thomas Frank seems to be the manager that keeps on giving, and by that I mean giving out 3 points to other teams. They're obviously not doing it as good as everyone thought they were. Ange Postecoglou wasn't the basket case they all seemed to think he was. But honestly, it's still a tough trip for Newcastle, especially after the week that you've had, mate, going to Tottenham. And like you said, I think the pressure is on even more so to get a result here more than ever. Newcastle
lose this really, and Spurs need to win. Spurs don't go above us on if they beat us, but Spurs are at home. They need to win, and Newcastle need to win just to try and keep in touch with some kind of European football next season. Champions League, I think, is done and dusted. Man United and Chelsea have put some good runs together under the new managers, respectively. And Man United are sitting on 44 points in fourth place. Chelsea are sitting on 43 in fifth. Newcastle are 10 points behind Chelsea. And at this moment in time, I think that's just a bridge too far. So you're looking at Europa League as Europe next season, and this competition, Liverpool, Brentford, Everton, Sunderland, Fulham, Bournemouth, all ahead of Newcastle. Brighton could be ahead of Newcastle today. any one of those teams could get Europa next season. It's a battle royale for European football. If Newcastle want to be involved in that, they've got to go and do what they have done in recent years, and that's get a victory at Tottenham. Tottenham aren't playing well this season. The manager has been under pressure. So I think Tom Dixon's probably right. If anything, the way the season's results have gone for both teams, Newcastle and Spurs are probably likely to play out a high score and draw. Newcastle are leaking goals, they are conceding goals, despite Botman looking back to his best at times, and Chow, relentlessly having to play every game. A lot will depend on whether Miley's fit. If Miley's fit and can come in at right back, that'll be great news. But yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw, lads.
Yeah, I'm going for 1 apiece here. I just can't split them. Obviously, they're both teams needing a win. I think it's going to be one of those games, Teddy Boy, that we're going to need both teams to step up defensively, which I think will make out for a draw for me, mate. But I'm going 1-1. How do you see it?
I see this as a bit of a sack race, this one, lads. I think if there's a losing side here, I think the manager goes. I genuinely do. I think because of the suspension for Romero, that's weakened Spurs massively. I believe it was a straight red yesterday as well, so he's missing for the next 3 games. Spurs are in
four games because that's his second straight red.
His second straight red, yeah.
But Mr. Staple there. I love that.
Red-carded Tottenham player, and Thomas Frank said, if you look at his history, he's actually been quite good, and he's been well behaved. And then the reporter said, Romero's the most red-carded player in Tottenham history. And Thomas Frank's response, Ted? Oh, sorry, I didn't know that.
This is the same guy who wanders around drinking out of an Arsenal cup. I mean, that's, yeah. It's not looking good for Spurs, is it? Let's be honest. I think Eddie will get a reprieve. To be honest, I just fancy Newcastle to nick this one. Not by much. I think it'll be the odd goal. I'm going to go 1-0 because Spurs right now are just an absolute pantomime of a club. They really are. I can see the Geordies just sneaking a 1-0 here.
That is 2 draws and a win for Newcastle United. And the last game we're going to preview here quickly before we wrap things up here on Three's a Crowd. We do appreciate each and every one of you joining us as well and watching live. We love and thank you so much for the support. We've got Sunderland taking on Liverpool at the Stadium of Light, a big midweek game here for Sunderland to show their credentials in this top half of the Premier League against Liverpool, who, Teddy Boy, aren't seemingly looking that bad under Arne Slot anymore. Obviously, they found a bit of form. Atike, obviously, he's what was it? Fantasial. I can't even. It's not toe poking, but he's using the other word for your toe, written around the goal square, mate. But I'll tell you what, the big thing for me as well is not only obviously seeing how well, Liverpool are going at the moment, but how Sunderland can match up Stadium Light against Liverpool, mate. You're coming off a tough loss to Arsenal. It'll be interesting to see how Regis plays this one.
Using some Three's a Crowd bingo. Well, under the lights, it's a big atmosphere, obviously. Sorry, Steve. Sorry, mate. I can't wait for this. This is why you want to be in the Premier League for games like this. I'm really excited for it. Good midweek one. For all the Xhaka absence, this isn't going to be a rollover job. But we're now taking pride in this undefeated thing at home. I think we'll make it an ugly game, to be honest. I think that's exactly what we've got to do. Shove any sort of nice football, flowing football to one side. Let's just be absolutely horrible to play through. We got some great results against Man City, against Arsenal earlier on in the season at home. I think we can pull another one of those out the bag, especially with the crowd being the way they are right now, which is completely on board with what the team are doing. We've just got to defend and try and take our opportunities when we get them. We won't get an awful lot of them. I actually fancy us to nick a draw here. Second draw of the season. I want to go for 1s each.
I'm going to go for 2-0 Liverpool because I just think Liverpool are too strong at the moment. And I think Sunderland, obviously, I think they will open themselves up to a bit of a Liverpool counter as well. And I just see Liverpool being able to get the cherries here. Obviously, Steve, you want to see Sunderland dropping points, mate, if Newcastle are to climb up against the arch rivals.
Yeah, I mean, look, Liverpool have started to pick up a really good run of form. Ekitike is definitely the danger man, but don't underestimate Florian Wirtz. He's had a really good second half to the season so far. I think Sunderland will give it a good go, but I think they'll be missing that midfield anchor again, and I think that this will be.
What'd you call him?
Anchor. I think this will be a 2-1 win for Liverpool. I think they'll make it awkward, but I think Liverpool will win 2-1, and I'm going for Sunderland to score because of a beach ball in as usual.
Sure. Brilliant.
Bring it on back.
Picked up on that and I forgot all about it.
Absolutely love it. Well, that's all we got time for on Three's the Crowd. But before we go, we need to get a quick prediction going into next week's pod. Will Eddie Howe be the manager of Newcastle United by the time we reconvene next Saturday or Sunday, lads? I need a yes or no answer so we can check back on the tapes. I say Eddie Howe will be the manager at Newcastle United by the time we come back next week. Steve?
Yes, he'll still be Newcastle United manager.
Ted?
As long as they pick up a result against Spurs, yes.
Oof.
Yeah.
It's going to be a massive week.
Thank
you so much. Thank you so much for joining us on Three's the Crowd, the only Northeast football podcast where we talk Newcastle, Sunderland and Middlesbrough every weekend right here on YouTube at Invictus, at NUFC Matters and at Ted the Mackham. Thank you so much for over 400 of you watching live on all the different platforms. We really do appreciate the love and support. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Have a fantastic week. Good luck to Middlesbrough playing tomorrow night. Good luck to Newcastle going to Tottenham. And obviously Liverpool versus Sunderland has got a massive week of football. Never rests. The season is coming to a very, very interesting point, ladies and gentlemen, and it's going to be covered right here on Three's a Crowd. We will see you this time next week. Bye for now.
Three's a Crowd podcast will return. That's not a threat. It's a promise.